5,000 restaurateur. Food for work. That's our thing.
Make your next hire fast with Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Not far from here.
One-handed catch, touchdown!
We will join. We will come together.
Georgia has won.
We will rise. We will fight. And we will win.
College football returns Saturday, September 3rd to ESPN Radio.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome in. It is the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Mr. Kev Nash, happy Tuesday.
What up, dog?
Right here, let's get your camera situated here.
Hi, Mom.
Hold up. There we go. We're off and rolling. Off and rolling here on a Tuesday. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. Excited to be hanging out with you here on a Tuesday as we get things off and rolling here. Week 1 of the high school football season is officially here, and we'll kick off this Thursday night with our ESPN Dayton high school football game of the week. That's right. One of the biggest rivalry matchups in the Miami Valley. We'll have the Altar Knights going up against the Fairmont Firebirds this Thursday night, 7 o'clock. You can catch the game right here on 1410 Wing AM, 7 o'clock to kickoff. You can also stream it live at wingam.com. I'm excited to be bringing you another high school football season here on the old WING airwaves. So there's that.
Another one.
You have your nephew you're gonna be checking out this weekend?
Absolutely. Well, they're on the road. I forget who they play. Centerville. I think they're playing up in Columbus. But yeah, I'll be checking out a lot of Centerville games this upcoming season, checking him out. Also gonna be checking out one of my best friends. His son is a senior at Miamisburg this year. The Nephew Bowl is going down, I want to say week 3, Miamisburg versus Centerville. So I'll be in the building for that game as well. So I'll be around town, man. I might even pop out and hang out with you guys on Thursday night, man. It's very close to the building.
Yeah, excited about the week 1. Keith Byers and I will be doing the games all season long, but Josh Copeland played football at Fairborn and then played football at Buffalo. Quite the golfer, by the way. I mean, he has some power in his golf game. I tell you that much, but he'll be doing the game with me this Thursday night, filling in for Keith Byers. Appreciate Josh. Excited to work with him to bring you Altar and Fairmont this Thursday night, 7 o'clock right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll actually do a trip around the Miami Valley and take a look at some of the top high school football week 1 matchups. Games kicking off on Thursday. You have games on Friday, games on Saturday. Excited between the Miami Valley League, of course. You have Altar and everything else kind of going on that we're going to be taking a look at. So I'm pretty jacked about everything going on with the GWAC. The GWAC is, we spend a lot of time calling those games, but it's not a direct relationship with the GWAC. But we do a lot of GWAC games. But I'm excited. Dayton Public Schools, everything along those lines. We're going to be bringing you a lot of different games. Trotwood's on the schedule for a couple games this year.
Nice.
The team I'm most, and I'm excited for all the teams, don't get me wrong, but I've talked about him, Jackson McGowan, again, with Miamisburg. I'm pretty jacked. We have quite a few Miamisburg games on the schedule, so I'm pretty excited about that. But 518-1410, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation if you would like to do so. But I want to open up again with this just quickly. Ohio State. The Buckeyes, they open up the season on September 3rd right here on 1410 ESPN Radio as well. A lot of football on 1410 WING. Pretty jacked about that. But Ohio State, Notre Dame, there's been a lot of talk about this game, and Paul Finebaum had some interesting comments about the Buckeyes' week 1 season opening opponent against Notre Dame. He's not a big fan of Notre Dame. I'll play the soundbite coming up for you here in just a moment, but interesting comments from Paul Finebaum. And this kind of goes back to what we talked about last week about what are some of the pitfalls to the TV negotiations, the media rights negotiations that are going on with the Big Ten, and how if they're not on ESPN and ESPN has all of the SEC games and they have an invested interest in the college football playoff, could there be some funny business going on? The media building up matchups, of course, always plays a huge role in what these polls can look like. Do I know that for a fact? No, but you can connect the dots. This Notre Dame team being ranked as high as they are, I've always had my question marks as far as why they are ranked as high as they are. They've lost their quarterback. They've lost many pieces on defense. And, I know this polls came out before some of these injuries, but they're still getting a lot of that hype. And a lot of it has to do is ESPN still kind of getting that love a little bit for the Buckeyes because, they're carrying the Ohio State Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
Now, the ESPN has nothing to do with the AP poll. But it is interesting that the AP poll and the coaches poll has shown Notre Dame a lot of love. I don't know what, I'm not going to get into a breakdown of Notre Dame football at this point, but it is interesting, kind of the conspiracy theorists out there who are looking at the overprops Notre Dame ranking. None other than, Paul Finebaum, Mr. SEC himself, had this to say about Notre Dame.
It's Notre Dame. They should not even be in the top 10, Greeny. This is an absolute joke, and it happens every year with the AP poll, which is about as worthless as preseason NFL football. It's ridiculous. Notre Dame is going to get run in the first game of the season. I mean, they're going to get destroyed at the Big House. And then after that, they have to go to North Carolina a couple weeks later, a team that will bounce back this year. They have Clemson on this schedule, and they have SC. They'll be fortunate to go 9-3. Laughable that they're in the top 5 or 6.
What's laughable is calling the shoe the Big House. I don't know if anyone else caught that, but I mean, look, Paul Finebaum, the thing is, he's like, you know what? I don't really care what it's called. Coming up here in about a year and a half, I'll never have to mention the shoe or Ohio State ever again, unless it's the college football playoff and it's Alabama against Ohio State again. So there's that. But Forrest on Facebook, he chimes in right off the bat, Kev. He says, I unfortunately feel that the game is being overhyped. I feel that Georgia versus Oregon, that game is better. And it could be a better game. Look, I think Ohio State's going to rout them. I really do. Like, I think when you start to look at the fact that Notre Dame's still trying to figure out their quarterback situation, their top 2 wide receivers have been injured, one out for their top wide receiver out for the season coming up. Another wide receiver goes down in practice. Now, Ohio State, they've had some injuries on their side, but the difference is the depth. That's what separates Ohio State and Alabama and the Georgias of the world from pretty much everyone else is the depth, how much, how deep their roster goes. So I do think that this game is being overhyped. Ron Howard says Notre Dame sells the brand. Yes and no. One thing we're going to do, higher, lower coming up with the college football top 25 after the AP poll was released yesterday, to kind of dive into which of these teams are going to be ranked. Will they be ranked higher or lower whenever the season comes to an end? We'll get to that around the corner, but this Notre Dame game, the big question I have is it being overhyped? Are we just in love with the two brands squared up against one another? Ohio State versus Notre Dame at the shoe, under the lights. You folks that are spending $1,200+ on tickets, I think you're being kind of silly. I would not spend that much money on this Notre Dame game. I just wouldn't. I do not think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to... everyone's like, man, Ohio State challenging themselves right off the bat. I really don't think they're challenging themselves. I really don't think this Notre Dame team is as good as what people are saying. I think we're falling in love with the storyline of it. We're falling in love with the Marcus Freeman leading Notre Dame back to the shoe after taking a few jabs at the Buckeyes throughout the offseason. Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. When's the last time they won a big game? They're going to be coming to the shoe at night. Marcus Freeman, Ryan Day. The Buckeyes, the Fighting Irish. This is as overrated of a matchup as I can remember. I don't get all warm and fuzzy inside for this one. I just think it's a very overrated matchup, and not just because I heard Paul Finebaum say that, but it was interesting to hear him unleash on Notre Dame the way that he did.
I think it's twofold. I don't think the matchup is being hyped up enough. The reason I'm with that is because it is Notre Dame and Ohio State, and it's the first game of the season. This isn't a situation where, all right, we're in week 5, week 6, and we're trying to manufacture something. Like, this is going to sell itself. It's the 2 biggest powers in the Midwest, obviously, with Ohio State and Notre Dame. Notre Dame sells itself. Ohio State sells itself. But then you do throw in the aspect of Marcus Freeman being a former Buckeye player and being a former assistant coach at Ohio State and everything like that. Then the chirping going on. I piggyback that off of Oregon. Their new head coach was the defensive coordinator at Georgia. So, like, these matchups early in the season, especially week 1 and week 2, I don't think they're hyped up enough, because we're going to be hyping up this mystery game between, I don't know, just say Alabama and Ole Miss, just like we did last year when Ole Miss was undefeated and Alabama was undefeated, and we hyped it up out of this world, and we all knew what the outcome was going to be. Like we did when Ohio State played Michigan State last year. Everybody was hyping it up, and we deep down inside, we all knew it was going to happen because Michigan State had one of the worst pass defenses in college football, and Ohio State had one of the best pass offenses in college football. We all really knew it was going to happen, but we tried to hype it up. But this matchup, we can think we know what's going to happen, but there's nothing to go off of. Everybody has an O in front of their record and behind their record. So I don't think these matchups are being hyped up enough. These early non-conference matchups against powerhouse teams, they should be hyped up to the maximum. Now, if we want to talk about them being ranked too high, I think that's a totally different argument.
518-1410, is this Ohio State Notre Dame matchup being overhyped in your opinion? I have friends that are spending thousands of dollars on these tickets, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Big
Why
money.
would you do that? You went to my, they went to our wedding, and I saw what they gave us. I'm just like, you're just cheap when you want to be. I see how it is. No, I'm just joking, but I think it's a beyond overhyped game at this point. Ohio State's dominated the Notre Dame series. Ohio State's roster is head and shoulders better than this Notre Dame roster. Notre Dame has more question marks than anything. Like, what is Notre Dame? What are they coming into this matchup with that they're like, we're going to beat Ohio State? Nothing. I don't get why we're doing this. I'm more worried about the Wisconsin matchup. I'm more worried about the Buckeyes going on the road, playing at East Lansing, playing at Michigan State. I'm more worried about that team up north for obvious reasons. I mean, there's so many games on this schedule. Hell, even a bad Iowa team I'm more fearful of than I am this Notre Dame team. I just think this is so overhyped, and the ESPNs in the world, they need to do it because you have to hype it up. It's week one. It's the kickoff to the season.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that people are overreacting to this matchup a little bit, in my opinion.
So you talked about friends that are going to the game. We talked about this like last week when I brought up the fact that my brother was considering flying in from Vegas until he saw the price for the tickets and decided, nah, I'm good. So how much would you be willing to pay to go to this Ohio State and Notre Dame game? Just remove the fact that you work for ESPN radio. We got little perks and everything like that. Pretend you were just a regular fan out there that was an Ohio State fan. You had a couple dollars in your pocket. How much would you be willing to drop?
200 at the most.
Wow.
200 at the most. And I think that's high to spend on
like you going to the Toledo game.
But in all seriousness, is that what the tickets go for, even a Toledo game?
Let me double check. No, I think the Toledo game is more like about 150.
I don't know. So I'm looking at in this Buckeye schedule again. They open up. I mean, their first 5 games are all at home. Yes, they have Arkansas State week 2, Toledo week 3. I would pay. Toledo is not going to be a good game either, but that's like the Notre Dame game. It's under the lights or whatever. But I think you give them both the same treatment. I think Notre Dame's overrated. I'm so sick of this people talk about Notre Dame, if they come to the Big Ten, they need to get special treatment. For what? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. For special treatment, it irritates me. We
got some C-Deck tickets for the Notre Dame game, $360. Get your bleeders out, get your binoculars out. You'll be way at the top.
That's for $200.
$360
for the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Better have your walking shoes on.
And look, it's overall the matchup itself, and it's a big game because it's a respectable non-conference opponent coming in. But look, I mean, Oregon felt like a bigger game last year than this because Oregon, for one, there was enough respect there for Oregon. I don't respect Notre Dame and what they have on the roster this year. Marcus Freeman's going to do great things at Notre Dame eventually, but not right away. And they're going to start out, like Paul Finebaum said, getting punched in the mouth. Here's Paul Finebaum. For those of you tuning in late, Paul Finebaum had this to say when he was asked about which team in the top 5 did he think did not deserve to be there.
It's Notre Dame. They should not even be in the top 10, Greeny. This is an absolute joke, and it happens every year with the AP poll, which is about as worthless as preseason NFL football. It's ridiculous. Notre Dame is going to get run in the first game of the season. I mean, they're going to get destroyed at the Big House. And then after that, they have to go to North Carolina a couple weeks later, a team that will bounce back this year. They have Clemson on this schedule, and they have SC. They'll be fortunate to go 9-3. Laughable that they're in the top 5 or 6.
Laughable, he says. Laughable that they're even in the top 5, top 6. I don't know. 518-14. Oh, we do have someone on hold.
Yeah. We got Chicago Brian calling in from Greenville. He lives in a divided household.
Oh, do you live in a divided household, sir? Welcome in. How are you? Let's talk you through it. What's going on?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good, man. What's up?
I can't wait for this game, even though I already know the result. Like I said, I live in a divided household. Half Ohio State, half Notre Dame. So I don't know if we're going to make it after the game. We all know what the result's going to be. But I'm still excited for the game despite it.
Who's who? Who's rooting for who?
The Ohio side, the wife side is Ohio State, of course, and then the Chicago side of the family is Notre Dame.
Oh, Brian.
Your thoughts on Notre Dame, though? Is this an overhyped matchup?
It is overhyped, and I could, slam Notre Dame for the lack of talent at quarterback and wide receiver, but I'm going to focus on some good real quick. Look at the recruiting that we're doing right now. We haven't seen this in a while. Right now, if you were to ask who's Ohio State's biggest threat in the Midwest for recruiting, it's not Penn State or Michigan. Right now, 23 and 24, you got to look at Notre Dame. So this game is big for the recruiting trail for both teams. Yes, Ohio State's going to win this game, but it's still a big game beyond this year, if that makes any sense.
That's true, but here's some info. I mean, look, Notre Dame, yes, they're recruiting just fine, but they just lost a 5-star defensive end and Keon Keeley, and he decommitted from Notre Dame because he wanted to be on the Buckeyes sideline whenever Notre Dame comes into town. So Marcus Freeman, he can recruit, they can do some things. They'll be like the little engine that could, but they ain't gonna be Ohio State, they can beat Alabama, they can be Georgia. I have no faith in Notre Dame until they join a conference. When they become an adult and join a conference, that's when I'll be a Notre Dame supporter at that point.
I get that, and until NBC's willing not to pay them that amount of money, I can't blame them for it. I prefer them to be in a conference, but I understand it from the financial end.
Well, you're no fun to go at. Now I feel bad, but no.
He's a reasonable human being.
Yes, who would have thought? But nonetheless, it's still going to be a fun matchup to build up to because it is Ohio State versus Notre Dame. But you don't schedule these games with knowing what the roster is going to look like, or hell, for Notre Dame's case, even what who the coach is going to be. But it's going to be a fun build to it. But I think once the ball is officially placed on the field and the ball's kicked off, I think we're going to see a gap. But I do think Notre Dame's still trending in the right direction with Marcus Freeman. But as far as all the talking he's done leading into this game, it can get pretty ugly. And I think Ryan Day and Ohio State, they're pretty motivated. One, to quiet down Notre Dame for all the reasons you just said, Chicago, Brian, out on the recruiting trail. Yes, they are running into one another quite a lot. But they also want to let people know that our defense is improved and that the Buckeyes are going to be national championship contenders, and they're going to have a chance to put that on full display against your team on September 3rd. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good, guys.
Brian, I got one quick question for you, man. Sure. Are you keeping updated with everything going on at LSU and your former coach, Brian Kelly?
I do time to time. I try not to get wrapped up into it too much. I feel bad for our current guys that are still on the team, so there's a part of me that kind of likes to see Brian Kelly fail.
Well, what about his family?
Excuse me?
What about his family?
With his accent. Do you remember the accent, Chicago, Brian?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember that.
But, all right, man, good hearing from you. Thank you, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys.
518-1410. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The mid-afternoon and early evening will be
Sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Need an appliance? Shop the new appliance truckload event at Lowe's, going on now. From refrigerators and ranges to dishwashers and laundry pairs, we have a large selection of appliances from the brands you trust. Plus, get store-wide savings by shopping other in-stock categories. Go to your local Lowe's store or visit Lowes.com to shop the appliance truckload event and find what you need now. While supplies last, valid through 8/17.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process, except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Of the week, that's right. One of the biggest rivalry matchups in the Miami Valley. We'll have the alternate.
with no side effects and no downtime. Call QC Connects now for a free consultation. 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken is excited to announce their new delicious spicy bourbon chicken sandwich is here. It's the best of both worlds. They're spicy bourbon dippers that you love, brought into a sandwich you'll crave. It's made with their famous spicy chicken sandwich, smothered in their special bourbon barbecue sauce, dripping with flavor on a brioche bun. Enjoy it in a combo with your favorite side and a drink, priced just right at only $6.99, and only available at Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken Miami Valley locations. Lee's, famous for spicy bourbon chicken.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers with a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, new equipment. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right. And when they're wrong, it's your reputation on the line. So what do when you don't agree with your search results? Call Reputation Defender at 800-401-6681. Reputation Defender by Norton is one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. We have over a decade of experience in fixing people's search results, and we can help you too. Using cutting-edge approaches, Reputation Defender pushes unflattering information down to lower pages of your search results, where few people ever look. We also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, letting you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. You owe it to yourself to take control with Reputation Defender. Visit www.reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 for free advice on your situation. 800-401-6681.
Make your next hire fast with Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
You know, it's interesting the other day, Kev. I remember with all the injuries that we hear about in the NFL. And I was like, in college, there's never injuries in college. Like, you ever notice that? Like, and I'm wrong, clearly. It's what I'm getting at here. But, like, I feel like ever since I had that thought of, hey, there's never any injuries in college, there's been a ton of injuries in college.
Right.
Very bad news out of Columbus for Ohio State. Explosive, versatile Ohio State running back Evan Pryor is expected to miss the rest of the season with the knee injury. Austin Ward reported earlier on in news that we were all kind of holding our breath, waiting to maybe hopefully get better news, but that was the worst case scenario of what everyone was waiting to hear. Evan Pryor will be out for the upcoming season. Clemson defensive end Xavier Thomas, he's going to miss up to 6 weeks with a foot injury. There's, Notre Dame has been impacted by injuries left and right. They've been really hit hard with injuries as far as that goes. But up until the last couple of days with injuries, in my mind, and again, I haven't researched anything or whatever, but I feel like you never hear about the stars in college getting hurt. You know, in the NFL, it's like, man, star QBs go down every day. When's the last star quarterback that went down in college? You had Trevor Lawrence, who missed some time because he tested positive for COVID.
Right.
So he missed some games here and there because of the protocol during that time. But when's the last, I guess, Tua Tagovailoa? That was like the last significant quarterback that went down. It's amazing to me how, and knock on wood, but like, we don't talk about injuries in college with star players as much as we do in the NFL. I feel like NFL quarterbacks go down by sneezing. College QBs seem to stay upright pretty well. I don't know. Like, I'm not pulling for that or want that. I'm just saying when I see a significant name for a big time program go down, it always gets my attention more than in the NFL because it seems to be less common. I don't have any numbers to back that up, but am I wrong in that it seems less common that star players go out in college?
You pointed out, but yeah, like, from big time programs, I really can't remember like that many guys, like especially the quarterback position, that have been down for the season. You brought up Tua, like that's the first one that comes to mind for me. But honestly, I think that's like the only one that comes to mind. I know CJ Stroud missed a game last year, dealing with like what do you have, like an elbow situation or a shoulder situation? He missed it, but like
I think it was the night game against Akron.
Yeah,
that, he didn't start.
Right,
but there was some weird thing. There was a bunch of, I think it was a phantom, if I had to guess, because remember, he wasn't playing well. He was having some bad practices. I do think he had an elbow injury, but I think they were able to use that as the excuse to keep him out.
Yeah.
Remember, he wasn't looking sharp to start the season. And in fact, if he doesn't have that stretch, he probably wins the Heisman last year. But yeah, outside of that, there's been no significant time missed. For the Buckeyes, you have to go back to 2014, the year they won the national championship with Braxton Miller, and then JT Barrett. But like those storylines don't happen often. Not that I want them to, but I feel like in the NFL, every day we're talking about a quarterback that's going down or is missing time or coming back after being eased back into something. And I'm like, dang, like what happened? I guess 30's old now. I don't know, mid-20s, you become old. I don't get it. But I just thought that was interesting. But that is tough news about Pryor for Ohio State. And, of course, the couple big names for wide receivers for Notre Dame that they go out and they're going to miss time. They're very thin at wide receiver. They don't know really who they have at quarterback. Marcus Freeman has his work cut out for him. And then, again, there's no tune-up game for Notre Dame. They just get thrown right out into the wolves under the lights, all right, at night on the road at Ohio State, or I'm sorry, as Paul Finebaum calls it, the big house. They're going to be, oh my gosh, Paul Finebaum called the shoe the big house. I'm sure that just right there just sends people into, well, see, you could tell they don't cover the Big Ten.
See? Yeah, absolutely. You talked about the Notre Dame injuries at wide receiver. See, that's the position that I will worry about since I'm an Ohio State fan, the depth issue in the secondary. Like, I was reading, we only have 6 scholarship cornerbacks. 6. Mm-hmm. 2 of them start. So we only got 4 backups. Like Brown, he just coming off of a torn, he had a torn Achilles a couple years ago. First Penn State is his first year back last year and everything like that. And then we got Burks at the other corner spot. So like we're already thin at that spot. So to beat Ohio State, that's where I would go because they're thin at the secondary and everything like that. So them missing wide receivers, that's going to definitely hurt them a ton. And then them breaking in a new starting quarterback. But as far as injuries, I know Texas is dealing with an injury at the offensive line. So they're going to be starting.
They lost a big wide receiver too.
And a wide receiver transfer. So they're going to be starting 2 true freshmen on the offensive line this year, Texas.
They're back.
Yeah. And they got Bama week 2. So good luck with that. And then I know Sam Hartman, the quarterback from Wake Forest, he had a non-football related surgery. So he's out indefinitely. So injuries are starting to pop up, man. And
Kids
this is
soft these days.
This is the type of year. This is the time of year where in NFL and in college football, you just basically want to wrap people in bubble wrap. You just want to get to the season. Like these practices, you still gotta, have your thuds and everything like that, and you still gotta scrimmage because this is tackle football, but you just really want to get to the season. So this last week of full practice, you just want to get through and then basically tune up and do walkthroughs until the actual game, because this would be the worst time in the world to get an injury to one of your biggest assets, to your big star quarterback, running back, wide receiver, star defensive end, or anything like that. You don't want anybody to get injured, man. So bubble wrap season is fast approaching.
Yeah, because we wait so long, us as fans in general, I'm sure the players too, but we wait so long for the season to officially get here. Players they circle the calendar for that first week of camp because they can't wait. You go through all the, you do all the off-season workouts. You just want to get out there and feel like you're practicing towards something.
Right.
We as fans, we want to hear, we love all these reports of what's going on in camp. We want the season to hurry up and get here, but we look forward to those reports starting to come out because that means the season's almost here. But we're at the point now, I'm tired of the reports. I don't really care how the QBs looked in a 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. Like, come on, like, can we stop with this like scrimmaging type thing? Like, I don't really care how you look in a 7-on-7, 11-on-11. Like, I just want to know what you're going to look like against Notre Dame on the third. So, same thing in preseason for the NFL. I look forward to that first preseason game. I look forward to the Hall of Fame game, not because of not knowing who half the players are going to be, but because it's football. And we're finally feel like when I'm watching preseason football, I feel like, okay, these games have a purpose, and that is the purpose is we're almost to the season. But now I'm done. I'm over it. I told you, I'm always like geared up for that first preseason. Now, like this week, I'm like, are we really shows are doing
week 2
preseason headlines?
Week 2, you're actually gonna see some starters out there. You're gonna see them play.
So we can talk about more injuries next week. Can't wait.
Let's hope not. Bubble wrap.
I'm like, look, if college can kick off week, if Ohio State Notre Dame can just kick off right off the bat September 3rd without any preseason games, I'm pretty sure the NFL could do the same. But like, we don't need to waste time on that because we all know why they do it. It's money. It's money. Roger Goodell and the higher ups aren't sitting there saying, well, I think it's very important that Joe Burrow be a part of 3 games that he might take a combined 1 snap in to prepare for the upcoming season. Like, let's be clear. They have more, like, for us to act like these preseason games are dangerous, they're not. Joe Burrow has a 10 times higher percentage chance of getting hurt in practice than he does a preseason game. So, like, these preseason games are pointless, but they don't serve. Well, to be fair, it's not meant for the front end of the roster. It's meant for the back end of the roster. And that plays a role for attrition purposes, especially as the season goes on and guys go down and get hurt and that type of thing.
I wonder how many guys we find like, what was the wide receiver from the Giants name? Victor Cruz, undrafted guy.
Cruz.
He shows up and just tears it up in camp and say, hey, put him on the field. He tears it up in preseason. It's like the last guy to make the roster and ultimately becomes the Super Bowl champion, a vital piece of that Giants team and everything like that. I wonder how many guys, like percentage wise, this actually happens for, because it's got to be slim to none.
Well, I know, and people say that all the time too. Well, you got to do it because there would never been a Victor Cruz, and I'm like, no offense, but I don't think the NFL is as successful as they are because of the back end guys like Victor Cruz. They're great stories, they're great feel good stories, but is there enough of those examples to justify playing all of these extra games and having camp go as long into the month as it does? If you shortened camp and didn't have preseason games, that just means teams would ramp up their training. Like right now, they spread it out over a 30-day period because they have 30 days. If you told them you have 2 weeks to prepare for the season, they'd have it prepared in 2 weeks. 2 weeks is probably too short. 3 is probably more like it, but nonetheless.
If there was no preseason, there would be an extended regular season. Like they got rid of the 4th preseason game. They added an extra regular game.
Yep.
So, I mean, keep the preseason game so we can try to keep this, because I love the 16 game schedule. Like, this extra game is just throwing a monkey wrench in all my predictions, because I'm used to, pointing out the team that's going to go 8-8, but now I got to remember they got that extra
predictions
game
for
in
the
there.
first. I mean, just 8-8 the first 16 games. That's there you go. All right. Other interesting news too. This storyline reminded me a lot of what happened with Jackson Carman and Urban Meyer back in the day. Remember Jackson Carman had committed to Ohio State.
Yes, sir.
Decommitted from Ohio State and flipped to Clemson because of what we as fans like to call bad recruiting, or what's that called?
Negative recruiting.
Negative recruiting. Coaches saying, hey, I'm hearing through the grapevine that so-and-so is going to retire and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's happening right now with Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson had to come out today and, talk about the fact that, he's nowhere close to retiring. He says, my retirement plan is way away from here. I enjoy coaching. I laugh because like the writers at Bucknuts and Letterman Row and others like J Book, and I follow J Book. J Book, I follow all his stuff on Twitter, but because there you go. So for all the schools negative recruiting, there you go. Yeah, because what's Larry Johnson going to say? Yeah, I'm out of here, dude. I'm out of here after second the season's over. I'm out of here. Look, I'm not saying he's close to retiring, but I also don't take him at his word that he's not going anywhere. Remember the old Urban Meyer, I believe I've coached my last game. Well, he knows he's lying to himself like he lied to everybody else. That's what these coaches do. But we as media put them in position to have to lie. Larry Johnson's not a bad dude, and he's not wrong for lying to us if he is close to retirement. But you have to protect yourself against the negative recruiting and counter it with lies too. So there's that. But I laugh at this. Larry Johnson says he isn't thinking about retirement because that rumor is picking up some steam, especially out on the recruiting trails. A lot of recruits are saying that, hey, we're hearing that you're going to potentially be leaving soon. But that just reminded me back with the Jackson Carman situation. We know when Buckeye fans, who got so mad, by the way, at Dabo Swinney, got so mad at Clemson about the talks of Urban Meyer leaving. Well, coincidentally enough, he did. He did leave 2 years later. Coincidentally enough, when Ohio State and when Ohio State and Clemson met in the bowl game a couple years ago in Ryan Day's first season as full head coach of the Buckeyes, guess what? Jackson Carman got to play against those same Ohio State Buckeyes, and guess who was on the sideline? Not Urban Meyer. So no apology for my guy Dabo. Huh?
Oh, he's your guy now?
I said my guy because I wouldn't dare say our guy because I get a feel you're not a Dabo. You don't dap it up with Dabo.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Not
but
my cup of tea.
He told the truth. He didn't lie.
And he just happened to be right.
Mm-hmm.
His sources were correct.
Yep. How's Jackson Carman doing for the Buckeyes or for the Bengals, by the way?
Not sure.
Not good.
Not good.
It's almost as if they made a bad draft pick. Hate when that happens. All right, 518-1410. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Keith Tolliver says, is it true that Ohio State doesn't play on the road until October? I was waiting for someone to pick up on that. That's not a Buckeye fan to kind of question that. That is strange. Look, Ohio State, they took care of their schedule. It's a friendly one. Like if Ohio State doesn't make the playoff this year, I'm not saying Ryan Day's seat should be warm, but at the same time, like Ryan Day will get a ton of criticism from me. What's your guy's name? Played at Bowling Green.
John.
Yep. Last name, full
Gibson.
name?
John Gibson. My
Mr.
bad.
John Gibson. No, you're good. John Gibson. He came on the show and he was critical of Ryan Day.
Mm-hmm.
John Gibson played football at Bowling Green for Urban Meyer, a good friend of Kevin's. He came on the show with us earlier in the summer. He had a lot of things to say about Ryan Day, and Kev was like losing his mind. And I'm looking across. I'm like, hey, I'm not really going to chime in here and defend Ryan Day to the full extent because we need to see it. You heard Colin and Joe Klatt talk about it earlier today about just they're still trying to figure themselves out defensively. Until Ryan Day and the Buckeyes figure themselves out defensively, I got to give him an incomplete at this point. But he's doing what he's supposed to do, and that is revamping that offense. That offense hasn't missed a beat since he took over, even in the interim base when he took over for Urban Meyer for those first couple games during his suspension. But this season, if Ohio State doesn't even make it to the college football playoff, there's big problems there, and I have a huge problem with it. But look at this schedule, Kev. In versus Notre Dame, at home. At home against Arkansas State on the 10th. At home against Toledo under the lights on the 17th. At home, welcoming in Wisconsin on Saturday, September 24th. And then is it time to hit the road? Nope. They will remain at home again as they welcome in Rutgers for a Big Ten showdown. That's 5-0. Now, they would have been 5-0 in that schedule, most likely, no matter what. whether they played on the road or not. But the first 5 games, Ohio State does not hit the road until October 8th. When they play at Michigan State. So there's that. But that is interesting. I was waiting for non-Buckeye fans to chime in on the fact that Ohio State doesn't hit the road until mid-October. So there you go. 518-1410, more of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
You want to join a college community where you feel welcomed, accepted, and supported. For more than a century, that place has been Ohio Dominican University, just 10 minutes from downtown Columbus. As Central Ohio's Catholic University, Ohio Dominican welcomes students of all faiths, backgrounds, and passions. If you're ready to make a positive impact on the world and those around you, ODU will prepare you to become the ethical and values-driven leader you aspire to be. Begin your ODU journey at ohiodominican.edu.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
O'Reilly. Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Premium Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to dissipate heat and reduce friction and wear. Right now, get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select Oil Filter for just $33.99. Try Syntec today, exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Yo, Pablo Torre here, host of the ESPN Daily Podcast. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Pablo Torre. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
At the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission, we help veterans and their dependents navigate the process of applying for benefits.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Week 1 of the high school football season is officially here. The Alter Knights, the Fairmont Firebirds. Don't miss the Miami Valley's biggest rivalry matchup this Thursday night as Alter takes on Fairmont in our ESPN Dayton High School Football Game of the Week. Tune in or stream the game live this Thursday night at 7 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. What, you heard an echo?
Yeah.
Things are going smooth so far. A little bumpy from time to time.
We're good.
Live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show. Jump in the conversation there. I talked about Jackson Carman a little bit ago. Billy Wright says Jackson Carman is doing better than the Browns centers. Yes, congratulations. Jackson Carman is doing better than two guys who are out for the rest of the 2022 season. You got me. You got me there.
That was a good one.
That's a good one. That Jackson Carman, the guy that they traded up to get, is better than two guys who aren't playing at all for the Browns this season. That's a good one. Well, my fault. Hold on. Let me make sure we're giving that the proper respect. Let's give it the proper respect that it deserves.
I'm not rooting for anybody to get hurt, but that was a good one.
It wasn't a good. It didn't even make sense.
It makes sense.
Jackson Carman. Whatever. Oh, Joe Burrow had 3 incompletions today and 7-on-7, by the way. Joe Burrow, but don't worry, it wasn't his fault. Joe Burrow's 3 incompletions and 7-on-7 drills were broken up by, an undrafted cornerback deflecting Jesus's passes. I mean, my goodness. I mean, what's going on? It couldn't be because Joe Burrow had a bad day. No, it's because the quarterback had a really good day. Dan Horde tweets out that on pass attempts to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, apparently all the vets went up to him and said, man, you had a really good practice, and everyone's real high on this undrafted cornerback. And I'm just like, so it's not that Joe Burrow had a rough day of practice today, right? It's that the cornerback had a really, really good day. Like, that's how we do this. That's how we spin this. Really? That what we're doing? That's I'm telling you, it's going to be so funny. I'm in a bad mood today, folks. So I'm trying to do my best to fight my demons of stirring the pot. So I'm just going to stop right there. So there's that, but it is what it is. Ron says Watson agreed to 8 games and $5 million, but the league will get their way. 12 to 17 games. Okay. We're sitting here waiting. It's been like 47 days since the ruling of Sue Robinson, which seems like I was like, oh yeah, like I feel like that's a recent storyline. That's almost 2 months ago. It's 47 days ago. It was almost a month ago.
Was it?
Yeah. When it started.
Oh, when it started.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, no, she hasn't given a ruling. It hasn't been 46. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been like,
yeah, it was Jake Trotter, who covers the Browns for ESPN. I tweeted that out a little bit ago, and I'm like, I had to sit back and think, but I'm like, yeah, because there wasn't a ruling made on her behalf until 3 weeks after. So, and here we are.
What's this new judge's name?
It's Goodell's puppet. I'm not really sure, and that's the name I give him for now. So there's that. I don't know. Look, I don't know what's going on. I mean, is it a good or a bad? Is it a good or a bad thing for the Browns that it's taken this long to make a decision? Because if the NFL had it their way, they would have just said, all right, here's the ruling. You're done for the year, right? Like, is the fact that it's taking so long, do you think that there's conversations behind closed doors of them trying to reach a settlement at this point?
Yeah, I think they're still trying to reach a settlement to come up with something that both sides can agree upon. But, I think they're just so far apart. I mean, initially, Deshaun Watson didn't want to serve any suspension time, and now
fair.
it's up to now he's
Good for
up
him
to
for
8.
going that route. I don't think I should be suspended at all. Word? Explain.
I think he's like, last thing I heard, he was talking about like 8 games and $5 million, but the league is talking, they want a whole season. Like,
And he's trying to get away with that. What did you call last year?
yeah, exactly.
You throwing a temper tantrum. You wanted out. You were holding your breath till they traded you. Then this came about, and now all of a sudden I don't know. All weird nonetheless. Other New Browns news out of camp. Myles Garrett's been excused from camp for the 3rd straight day to tend to a personal matter. He's doing his Tom Brady impersonation. He's fine physically, and the team is not concerned about his absence, giving him the time that he needs. Look, I think you see a lot of this stuff. You're starting to see more and more of this where guys take personal time away. And again, I'm not saying that there's not a serious issue. There probably is. My point is, I don't recall a camp that there's been this many storylines of guys who are just missing camp for personal reasons. And again, I said earlier, in my opinion, I think camp's way too long to begin with, but with all my expertise of playing in the league and all, I don't know. I find it interesting. Look, these guys their job is to stay in shape year round.
Mm-hmm.
Are you using camp to get in shape? If you are, that means you're not doing your job the way you're supposed to. But these guys are in shape. They've stayed in shape. They've prepared for the season. Do they need every second of every day of camp to prepare? Doesn't hurt, but I also don't think it's necessarily needed. But I found that interesting. No Myles Garrett there. By the way, remember the other day we talked about CJ? We're talking about Ward. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Denzel Ward. And I was thinking Stroud for whatever reason. But Denzel Ward, talking about him, he's not injury prone. He has a foot injury, Kev. He has a foot injury.
I just gave you the numbers, yo.
I got new numbers. He's hurt again.
Is he hurt or injured?
Paid.
He deserves to get paid.
Is he hurt or he's paid? That's
definitely deserves to get paid. Top 5 corner in the league. Pay up.
We'll see what happens there. But my goodness, I'm just ready. I'm over the preseason talk.
We definitely had a lot of new lingo out here. The hold in is a new phrase that's been thrown around and everything like that. And now, like the personal days, I know Tom Brady took some time away. Now Myles Garrett.
518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Coming up here around the corner, we'll dive into some of the top high school football matchups in the Miami Valley here for week 1. That's coming up around the corner. We'll also do a little higher, lower, with the college football top 25. That's also coming up. Kev Nash bringing that to us, of course. We'll dive into some of our conversation with Brent Sobleski, NFL analyst for Bleacher Report. He had interesting things to say about the Bengals yesterday. So we'll get into all that. Very busy hour number 2. Coming up around the corner. Kev, what's up?
We got Jeff from Beaver Creek line 2.
What up, Jeff in Beaver Creek? How are you? Welcome, sir.
How are you guys?
Good. Yourself?
Making it happen.
Oh, just had a little defensive question for the Buckeyes. Are you guys buying what Bucknuts and 11 Warriors are saying that Jim Knowles is the real deal? He certainly has a lot of clout and has done a good job wherever he's been, but he's got 4 and 5 stars to work with at Ohio State. And I was just going to get your guys' perspective, and it can't get any worse than it had been the last 2 years. That's the worst I've seen in 40 years. So I think it can have nothing but to go up. But I want to see what you guys thought.
Jeff, the one thing that because I've been back and forth on this, I'm like, okay, he can't just come in and all of a sudden everything's just night and day different. But you just mentioned a point that I thought of earlier today. The talent that he has, I don't think it's a talent issue at Ohio State the last 2 years. I think it had a lot to do with scheme and just coaching and just getting the toughness out of these guys. It's not like there was just a bunch of defensive bums on the defensive side of the roster for Ohio State. I mean, these were legitimate guys coming out of high school. I mean, the same guys we're getting excited about that we're hearing in the recruiting cycle for Ohio State, 4s and 5 stars. My goodness, these guys are going to be great. And then when they get here and they don't perform, does that mean that they were bad coming out of high school? No, that means that talent's still in there for a lot of the guys on this roster. And I think that Knowles coming in, he implements his scheme. I think we're going to see a vast improvement right off the bat. How big of a gap of a jump that is, we don't know, but they're going to have a good test in Notre Dame. But I think because of the fact that he has more talent at Ohio State than he has at his previous stops, if he implements what he's been doing before, I think the learning curve and the improvement curve for Ohio State could be very, very quick. So that's why I'm back and forth on how much leash do you give him. I don't think you give him that long of a leash because you have the talent here. You have all the top food in the world to make the best meal possible. He just needs to go out and cook it.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, you know, if they've got all this talent and his scheme is as good, I mean, Cade Stover, one of their tight ends, said that the defense was really giving the offensive, and you know, our offense has got to be one of the top 3 or 4 in the country, giving them fits already in the scrimmage they've had and in the day-to-day practices. So I've just got to believe it's got to be an uptick in any improvement on defense with that offense. I can't see us scoring less than 40 in most games, and I think the offense is that good. And so, you know, it should better be a college football playoff, and obviously you got to beat the team up north to keep Buckeye fans happy.
Absolutely. Yeah, real quick on that question, Kev, what about you as far as Jim Knowles is concerned?
As far as Coach Knowles is concerned, the things that I've been reading out of camp are for the better. They're not just going to call their base defense and let people come to them. They're going to be more of an attacking defense and not just standing there and playing a vanilla zone and everything like that. When you have the caliber players of Chase Young, of a Jeff Okudah, of a Jordan Fuller, you can play vanilla because they're just that much better than everybody else. I personally don't think that the talent is nearly as good as what was there in the past. I think it speaks volumes that we constantly keep rolling out dudes that are seniors. In today's NFL, most dudes bounce after 3 years. We got a couple 6-year guys on the roster that we got to be rolling out there on defense. That means you not good enough. Just plain and simple.
Could be, Kev. Yeah.
So that's why I think maybe this was a Friday show when I was talking about I want to see a lot of the young guys getting a lot of burn, and that doesn't necessarily mean I want them to start off the bat, but I want to get that young talent on the field and get them a lot of reps because I think it'll pay dividends later on in the season. Look, man, we didn't see some of these 5th and 6th year guys out here. They haven't been making plays for 5 and now going on 6 years. We think they're going to start making plays now. No, I want to see the new guys get out there and get their feet wet and everything like that. But I think the scheme will be a lot better. I think that not only Coach Knowles, but also all the defensive coaches that we got from Cincinnati and all across the country are going to coach these guys up a little bit better. And they're not just going to sit there and say, all right, just come at us and we're going to tackle you. They're going to be blitzing off the edge. They're going to be mixing things up. So I'm here for it all. I'm not saying they're going to be the silver bullet defense, but they're definitely not going to be last year's defense. And really, that's all you can really ask for is a jump maybe out of I think they were like in the 80s last year. If they can jump into the 40s, that's good enough to win a natty.
I think so. Yeah, with that offense. All right, guys, I won't keep you. Keep up the good work, and we'll chat at you down the road.
Sounds good, Jeff. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Go Bucks.
More of the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash next.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. The Alter Knights, the Fairmont Firebirds. Don't miss our Week 1 ESPN Dayton High School Football Game of the Week this Thursday night at 7 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio and online at wingam.com.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Wireless headphones. That'll be
one Quicksilver card.
Now that's a hit. You used the Capital One Quicksilver card, which makes you the hero of every purchase. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere.
I wanted running music, but unlimited 1.5% cash back is pretty heroic.
Good instincts. Every hero needs a theme song. The Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
This should be 8x7. When it comes to closets, Janina's home organization business runs tip-top tidy. Is the schedule right? I'm going to need help. But she needs to reorganize and find a new assistant. I know, it's your last week, but can you make sure the Hanson pantry's wrapped?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers with a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, new equipment. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Don't send your kids back to school. Send them forward at Staples, the working and learning store.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
When Big Mobile charges you an arm and a leg, they're taking your money and your power. And your arm and leg. Boost Mobile gives your power back with an unlimited plan for $25 a month on one of America's largest 5G networks. We can't give you back your arm and your leg because we're not qualified surgeons. Unless you're an iguana who can grow limbs back. Switch to Boost and get an unlimited plan for $25 a month. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power. New customers only. One line, $25 per month with autopay. Additional restrictions apply. See boostmobile.com for details.
Meet Boost, the fizzing amazing vitamin boosts that make you feel like
I like to boost it, my vitamins can boost it. I like to boost it, we like to boost it.
Boost effervescent vitamins turn your H2O into H2O to give you a fizztastic feeling like
I like to boost it, my vitamins can boost it. I like to boost it, we like to boost it.
Because it's not just vitamins, it's Boost, the fizzing amazing vitamin boost.
Boost it.
The roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal, the sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us on the roads that unite us. With nearly 6,000 stores and over 17,000 auto care centers, Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to keep you firing on all cylinders.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We opened up the show earlier this afternoon talking about Paul Finebaum, who just kind of sounded off on Notre Dame, if you will. Notre Dame in the top 5 in the latest AP poll. And earlier today on Get Up with Mike Greenberg hosting the show, he had asked Paul Finebaum, of all the teams in the top 5, which team do you believe does not deserve to be there? Well, Paul Finebaum did not hold any punches. Not only did he say Notre Dame didn't deserve to be in the top 5, he said they don't even deserve to be in the top 10. Take a listen.
It's Notre Dame. They should not even be in the top 10, Greeny. This is an absolute joke, and it happens every year with the AP poll, which is about as worthless as preseason NFL football. It's ridiculous. Notre Dame is going to get run in the first game of the season. I mean, they're going to get destroyed at the Big House, and then after that, they have to go to North Carolina a couple weeks later, a team that will bounce back this year. They have Clemson on the schedule, and they have SC. They'll be fortunate to go 9-3. Laughable that they're in the top 5 or 6.
You were so focused on this Ohio State Notre Dame matchup as far as, you know, we haven't even thought about big picture like Notre Dame, who they are. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Ohio State, I know we want to trounce Notre Dame, and I'm not saying that you take the foot off the gas. You pummel them into the ground. Point is, though, is that this is supposed to be one of those marquee victories for Ohio State. The thing is, though, no one's doubting Ohio State. Ohio State's not a fringe team. So what I mean by that is, at first, your premier non-conference game is Notre Dame. So it's one of those things where, man, if you beat up on them too much and they end up losing 3 or 4 games, now all of a sudden that's not a good win. That's not a good win. But the thing is, when you're Ohio State, that's why I respect the fact that they put Notre Dame on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're going to go play at Notre Dame next year, I respect that, because Ohio State doesn't need Notre Dame on the schedule. They don't need to play tough teams in the non-conference. They do it. They don't do what Alabama does, and they're cowards, and they go play these teams on a neutral site and all that because they don't want to go on the road and play. It's just coward decisions by some of those top programs. Like, I give Ohio State credit for having the cojones to say, hey, not only are we going to welcome top programs into the big house, the shoe,
watch your tongue,
the shoe, they say, hey, we're going to go play you at your place as well. So kudos to the Buckeyes for having the guts to do that, but they don't have to. So even if they beat, because the reason I bring this up, someone messaged into the show saying, Ohio State has to be careful. You don't pummel them too bad. I said, what are you talking about? First of all, I'm not even going to give the guy's name out because I don't want to embarrass him, but I thought it was a pretty dumb comment, because I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to pummel Notre Dame? Well, you need that to be a good win for them. Folks, the bottom line is Ohio State's schedule is very tough. They play at Michigan State. They play Michigan. They actually have Wisconsin on the schedule this year. They're fine. They're set. I'm not worried at all about Ohio State needing this Notre Dame game to get into the college football playoff. They win by a field goal. They win by 60. They're in the playoff as long as they take care of business in Big Ten play. Wisconsin, I think that's a bigger game than the Notre Dame game. I think the Michigan State game on the road's a bigger game than this Notre Dame game. That's why I opened up the show today talking about how overhyped this matchup is to begin with. But just your overall takeaway, and again, Paul Finebaum coming out and unleashing Kev.
Coming out
Notre
swinging.
Dame. And is he wrong? I mean, he sounded just completely disgusted at the fact that the team that's going to play at the Big House on September 3rd is in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, they're not in my top 5. But what we all have to do when we're looking at these top 25s is realize somebody got to be ranked. So who you want in there instead, and who you going to take out, and all that type of stuff. So do I think that Notre Dame is going to take a step back? If you've been listening to the show, probably about 3 weeks ago, I thought that Notre Dame would be taking a step back. I think that Brian Kelly, for all his warts about him, you want to talk about his family or him being a weasel or whatever, he's still a good football coach. So you're still going to have a first-time head coach at Notre Dame, and now breaking in a new starting quarterback. Now, obviously, they're dealing with injuries and everything like that. So I do believe Notre Dame is going to take a step back. So they were consistently winning 9-10 games, and sometimes even flirting with the college football playoff under Brian Kelly. I could see a 8-win season from Notre Dame this year. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, I got another audio piece for you before we get into our higher or lower with the college football top 25 AP rankings that just came out. But Lane Kiffin is slowly becoming one of my favorite head coaches in all of college football. But they had a little bit of an issue. They lacked some depth at punter, but they were able to fix it. Lane Kiffin was asked about how they were able to go and find a punter earlier today. Take a listen.
Hey, you guys have also added a punter to your roster. Can you talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him. I think he was down at the frat house, like at a keg party or something, where they got him from. So we got some conditioning work to do with my guy. But we just said, hey, someone go find a punter around campus. And so we found one that actually used to punt in Division I. So
wow. I think that's how they found me as a radio host here. They said, we need somebody. I mean, I guess go. Yeah, I guess Kenner will do. But I love that. I love Lane. And Lane Kiffin, everything is just like so matter of fact. Like, yeah, you don't have to like it, but we went to a frat house and cake party and we found a punter. That punter is going to be the most popular punter in all of college football.
For sure.
I'm going to buy his jersey, name, image, and likeness. I'm going to fund his drinking money.
But imagine you couldn't find like a guy or a gal on the soccer team. That's what normally happens. They normally go to the soccer practice and say, all right.
That's boring. You go to a frat house.
Which one of y'all used to play football in high school? And then they just grab them and they come out and kick field goals or punts or whatever and everything like that. Can't find a rugby kicker like this.
No, if that was I wouldn't have played that soundbite if he would have said, yeah, we went to the rugby team and found a kicker. Yawn. Oh yeah, we're bringing on so and so.
Went over to the Gamma House.
He's great. He's a great soccer player. He really kicks the ball well. We're gonna go with it. Okay, cool. But no, he went to the frat house. I love it.
You imagine that the head coach just pulling up to the good old Gamma House. Where's Tim? Heard he can kick.
But they got their punter. I'm going to be tuning in just to check out the kicking game for old Lane Kiffin's squad. So there you go. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The AP Top 25 is out. And again, talking about Notre Dame coming in at number 5 on this list. Alabama 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Clemson 4, Notre Dame 5. You can argue that, look, I think teams 1 through 3 are set. I think they're locks. I think that makes sense. So Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia. I think that those 3 are going to be, right there. When we're talking championship, conference championship week, we're going to be talking Alabama versus Georgia. We're going to be talking about Ohio State against whoever's coming out of the other side, maybe a rematch with Wisconsin when it's all said and done. That's it. But when you start at teams 4 and back, Clemson coming in at number 4, I put them in that same train as Notre Dame as maybe the being overhyped type of deal, because it's been, we've seen the steady decline of Clemson football the last 2 years. I was all about the job that Dabo had done. He was able to go from Deshaun Watson and then get to the playoff with Kelly Bryant. And then the very next year, go from Kelly Bryant in midseason to true freshman quarterback. And obviously Trevor Lawrence, and win the whole dang thing, win the national championship, blow out Alabama. I was a big fan of the storyline of Clemson. Now they've kind of taken a step back. Apparently, DJ Uiagalelei, the quarterback for Clemson, has lost some weight. He's in the best shape of his life, and that's what guys who have a bad year the year before always say, trying to get the media to buy in. I'm in the best shape of my life. Great, super. You can throw the football better. We don't know that. But interestingly enough, I'll be surprised. Notre Dame won't be in the conversation when it's all said and done. I'll be surprised if Clemson is. But the top 25 is out, and that led to Paul Finebaum and others reacting to who belongs, who doesn't belong. So Kev Nash is going to bring us a little game called, Higher and Lower. And here you go.
All the time.
Or
higher, lower. We're off and rolling.
All right. Let's start out west. The Oregon Ducks, they start the season with the Georgia Bulldogs. Currently, they're ranked 11th. Will they finish higher or lower when the season ends?
Higher, low. I'm going to say higher, because you look at the top 10 right now. I think that Notre Dame and Clemson will be out of the top 10 when it's all said and done. There's a good chance that Texas A&M will be with 4 losses and placed at 3rd most likely. So, they're probably, how that works with old Texas A&M. But I don't think Michigan will be top 10 when the season's over either. So I think there's a lot of room for them to move up. And I think that while everyone's focused on UCLA and USC in the Pac-12, Oregon going to continue doing what they do, and that's going to win some football games early on. And then they'll lose the game they shouldn't late in the season like they always do, and be a 1-loss team playing in a big bowl game. But I think they'll finish higher. I think they'll be ranked higher than where they're at now, although I don't think being ranked 11th is all that bad.
I'm going to go lower. They got Bo Nix as their starting quarterback, transfer from Auburn. He wasn't good at Auburn. Why would he be any good at Oregon? First-year head coach. Obviously, they start the season with the Georgia Bulldogs, the defending champions, and everything like that. They also obviously got to play USC. They got to play Utah. We'll talk about them a little bit later. So I'm going to go with lower. I think this is going to be a quote-unquote step back year. So what Oregon normally loses, 2 games a year? I think this is going to be like a 3-4 loss year for Oregon.
Real quick, Keith Tolliver, he chimes in and says Notre Dame and Michigan neither should be in the top 10, in my opinion. Michigan just outside Notre Dame, closer to 25. I agree. Michigan or Notre Dame should not be in the top 10. Michigan's kind of getting that love because they won the playoff a year ago. Notre Dame is getting that love because, all the buzz with Marcus Freeman and the recruiting's going well, and they got Ohio State early on. I agree with that. I'm not high on Michigan or Notre Dame, but Kev, continue. Higher, lower. You said Oregon at 11. I could see them being higher, but although I do think that they are properly ranked, if that's an option.
Right.
So I think they're fairly ranked, but I do think they're a top 10 team when it's all said and done.
So higher or lower, since we brought them up, that team up north, Michigan, currently ranked in the preseason poll at number 8. Now, remember, we did go over their schedule, and Some believe it's a little soft. You know, they got Hawaii, they got Colorado in their non-conference schedule, but you know, obviously they come to the shoe the last game of the season. They got Sparty coming to their place. So Michigan, higher or lower at number 8 once the season ends?
The number that's most important is 2. And I say 2, not them being ranked 2. 2 means if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. And Michigan philosopher Mr. Shaw keeps saying about how they're going to make a quarterback switch a couple weeks into the season and all that. And I'm like, well, what the heck? You're good or you're not. You either have it or you don't. CJ Stroud, they didn't go to him late in the season. He was the guy right off the bat. He won a big game on the road at night. Jam-packed house against a Minnesota team that had a lot more experienced players than Ohio State did, and he looked rough, but he learned, and they won, and that's how you get better. You don't sit there and do the soft thing of, I'm going to give him 4 weeks to figure it out. No, you either have it or you don't. If you want to be an adult, you want to be a big boy, you want to sit at the adult table with all the other great teams, your quarterback either has it or he doesn't. In typical Harbaugh form, Michigan doesn't have it. You got 2 quarterbacks, you got none. You don't deserve to be in the top 10. The guys that helped you win those games last year, that helped you beat Ohio State, they're not there. Michigan, get the hell out of the top 10. Get out. You got 2 quarterbacks. You got none. They're not in the top 10. I'm going to say lower. They'll be ranked way lower. Michigan, get out of here.
Strangely enough, I got them being ranked higher.
How high are you?
Not enough. But you know, we did this whole exercise kind of the other day when we were looking at their schedule and everything like that. It's like, man, it just opens up for them. It just opens up for them to have a good season. I mean, obviously, we did this whole talk about Penn State and why aren't they ranked? And I personally don't think Penn State should be ranked in the top 25. So you're looking at it and you say, okay, they got to travel to Iowa the first week of October. Obviously, they come to us, the Buckeyes, at the end of the season and Sparty. But outside of that, man, I think they win all those games. And, you know, they're probably going to split either the Iowa or Michigan State game. So I think it's going to be a situation where they're going to have 1 loss coming into that Ohio State game, and a 2-loss team like Michigan at the end of the season. I think they'll be ranked in the top 10.
A 2-loss team that's about to get blitzed by 40-plus points, I don't see them making the top 10 at that point. They'll get that friendly 11 or 12. But at the end of the day, and by the way, I know their schedule is Charmin soft. Okay. It's 3-ply. All right. That's how soft it is. But at the end of the day, I still think that they are bad enough to lose a game that they shouldn't. They're going to lose a game that they shouldn't. There is no game. The only game that they could win that they shouldn't win is Ohio State, and they're not winning that one. They're not winning at, as Paul Finebaum calls it, the big house, right? They're not winning at the shoe. And they're going to lose 2. They're going to have 2 losses heading into Ohio State. The Ohio State-Michigan game this year is going to mean absolutely squat because Michigan will screw it up like they always do. Oh, but that last year, look what they did last year. Yes. They had, like, you know what happens in basketball, those March Madness, those Cinderella runs? That's what Michigan had last year. And the pieces that they had that helped them win those games last year aren't there. Get me all fired up. Who's next? Higher or lower? Michigan is going to be ranked lower, in my opinion. They're not even a top 10 team when it's all said and done.
Wow. Our beloved Cincinnati Bearcats. They are currently ranked 23rd in the preseason poll. They start the season with a doozy. They go down to Arkansas to take on those guys, and KJ Jefferson, their that big time quarterback. They got that return visit from Indiana coming down to Cincinnati. Obviously, they play Houston in the American, their last season in the American. UC Bearcats, higher or lower once the season is over, number 23?
I think if they are ranked at all, it'll be 25 or 24. I don't think they're a bad team, but they are replacing a ton. It's a program that is not used to having to replace talent. I think when you're Ohio State and Alabama, you're in those adult programs, not like Michigan and some of these others. When you lose that much NFL talent, it's not a culture shock to, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
man, when they lost Justin Fields, that should have really thrown them way off. And let's keep in mind, they lost 2 games last year in the regular season. They didn't lose those games because they didn't have Justin Fields. They lost those games last year because they didn't have a damn defense. That's really what it came down to. There are teams that are used to just plugging holes, all right? They're used to replacing NFL talent with more incoming NFL talent. I don't think that's the Bearcats yet. So when they replace NFL guys, they're replacing guys with guys who need to still develop. I think they're going to be a 2 to 3 loss team. If they are a top 25 team, it'll be 25 at the highest. I say lower, but again, that's not a shot at the Bearcats. I just think that they're not in that position to reload. And I don't, it doesn't even sound, when we had Justin Williams on, it didn't sound like there should be expectations of this team really playing in a New Year's Six bowl game or even competing for the playoff like last year.
Yeah, I got Houston winning the American this year, and I'm going to say lower for the Bearcats this season. They got a doozy going down to Arkansas. Pig Sooie and KJ Jefferson. They got transfer receivers coming in from Oklahoma. Basically, the guys that transferred from Oklahoma that didn't go to USC went to Arkansas. So watch out. Watch out for the Razorbacks this season is basically what I'm trying to say. And UC has them week 1. I think they'll get their footing back and they'll win a lot of games and everything like that. But I think you're right. Like, they're going to take a step back. So I think this is going to be like a 2-3 loss season for the Bearcats. So I'm going to say they're going to be lower.
All right, next up.
All right, next up, man, let's go back. Let's go back out west. Let's mess with Utah. Obviously, you and the Utah fans had a great relationship during the Rose Bowl and everything like that. The Utes right now are ranked number 7. They start the season off by going to Gainesville, Florida. They're messing with the SEC boys week 1. What do you say about the Utah Utes? Where will they end the season? Currently at 7 when the preseason starts.
They will be in the top 4. They will be a playoff team this year. I'm picking Utah to come out of the Pac-12.
Kenner's been listening to me. Kenner's been sneaking my notes.
Look, last year, I did get into, I just got, what they call it, ratioed or whatever. I just got destroyed on the old Twitter machine because I took a shot at Utah, and I still stand by what I said. But I acknowledge how talented they are. I mean, that was probably the best team I saw Ohio State play all year.
Yes.
It wasn't even close. Like, they looked significantly, like, I thought that was a better team than Michigan. I thought that was a better team than Oregon when it's all said and done. And they were a better team than Oregon. That's not really a hot take.
They beat Oregon's butt twice.
Yeah. So I think and they have a lot of those guys back. And I think they're just going to be, I think they're just getting into the groove of things. I think that while everyone's focused on USC, UCLA out of the Pac-12, like I said, I think Utah, this is going to be the best that the Pac-12 has been in quite some time.
Yeah.
I think in the college football playoff era, this might be the best that the Pac-12 has been in quite some time. You could say it's because of Lincoln Riley to USC, but I think it's more because of what they're doing in Utah right now. So I'm a big Utah, not fan, but believer. I'm going to say higher. They'll be in the top 4. I think they're in the playoff.
I want to say higher, and I'm going to say higher. But let me put this caveat in here. Cam Rising, their quarterback.
Such a badass name, by the way.
I like this guy. But he has something that you don't want to get. He gets concussions. He got a concussion in the Rose Bowl. Yep. He is a 200-pound quarterback that is 6'2", and he runs like he wants to be a fullback. I love it. It's awesome. But you're going to get knocked the bleep out. You keep doing that. So you got to stop that. You got to slide, bro.
Not everyone's fortunate to be like Michigan with 2 quarterbacks. So, I mean,
so if he's down, they're done for. It's plain and simple. But I'm going to go higher because I have them making the college football playoff as well. Cam Rising, listen to me. Slide, get out of bounds, hand it off to Travion Thompson, and you'll be perfectly fine.
You said Cam Rising. Utah will be rising up in the rankings. They're in the top 4. So, yes. We have time for 1 or 2 more.
Yeah, let's get 2 more. Let's get 2 more in. Let's stay out west. You're a big USC guy. You love what Lincoln Riley's doing out there with all the transfers and everything. Currently, they are at 14. Higher or lower for the Trojans?
I'm gonna let you start this one.
Okay.
USC.
Okay.
Higher or lower because I'm a big. I'm the teams I'm most excited to see play this year outside of Ohio State. As exciting as figuring out who your quarterback is by week 6, Michigan is not one of my teams. But Utah is one, USC is the other, and Texas. Those 3 teams, I am very excited to see what they, do. And I think that college football is excited for it too. If those 3 really do what they're supposed to, college football is going to be very exciting this year. It won't be us talking about 3 teams and then a wild card at number 4. I think we're going to be talking about 4 legitimate teams in the playoff for the first time in a long time. I'm pretty jacked about that. But your thought, USC, are they? You said they're moving on up. Like
they're higher. They're higher. I've got them being higher. I think what Lincoln Riley is going to be able to do is he knows that defense is suspect out there. He knows that. But what people fail to realize about Lincoln Riley is they look at the numbers that CeeDee Lamb put up. They look at all the passing numbers that Baker Mayfield put up and all that type of stuff. They are a running team first. He's going to control that clock because he knows that defense is garbage. And guess what? There's only a couple high-flying teams that you really have to deal with out there in the Pac-12. You obviously got to worry about Utah. You got to worry about the Ducks. You got to worry about UCLA. But other than that, he can navigate all those type of things. I got them being higher. I got them missing the college football playoff because I got Utah running the table, beating them in the Pac-12 championship game.
I have them higher as well. I don't have them in the playoff because I have Utah making it when it's all said and done. I think that Utah is just more complete team on defense and offense as far as that's concerned. But look, their non-conference is not very good. They do, they play Rice in week 1 on September 3rd. And then on September 10th, they play at Stanford. USC should win that game. I think that they play at Utah. To be honest, if the roles were reversed, if it was, if USC was the home team, I'd probably pick them to represent the Pac-12 in the playoff. But I think it's going to be Utah. I think they lose to Utah in a close one, and I think that they absolutely rout Notre Dame because I think Notre Dame is bad. So I think that USC, and I don't believe the Rose Bowl is a part of the playoff game. So there'll be a one-loss USC team will be in the Rose Bowl going up against, well, it won't be, 2 QB, 2-loss Michigan will not be in the Rose Bowl out of the Big Ten. So forget that. No, I say higher USC. I'm high on them. High in the Pac-12 this year. It stinks that the Pac-12 finally gets some momentum as they're about to bid farewell to their 2 big media market teams, of course.
Right. Last one. And I had to call an audible because the team that I wanted to talk about is not ranked in the top 25 in the AP poll, who is Texas, who is not ranked in there. So we don't need to talk about them. So we'll go to another Texas school, Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher and the boys. They are currently ranked number 6 in the preseason AP poll. What say you, higher or lower?
Texas was not in the AP top 25?
They are not.
Very weird. They got a
first place vote by the coaches.
In the coaches poll, they came in at 16 or something along those lines. And they even had a first place vote, which I still think is laughable. But here's the deal. If Quinn Ewers is who's he's supposed to be, and Buckeye fans, knock it off. If Quinn Ewers was still the quarterback at Ohio State, you'd be drooling over how great Quinn Ewers is supposed to be. But now that he's not with Ohio State, now everyone's like, "Oh, he's ass. He's ass. He's no good.
He's not getting number 1 reps in that latest scrimmage down there."
So he'll be fine. He'll be fine. If that's the case, that means Ohio State screwed him up. They didn't. They broke him. He's about to unleash like Joe Burrow did at LSU. But anyway, so you said one more time.
Aggies, Texas A&M Aggies, number 6 currently. Higher or lower when the season ends?
I think they're going to be lower, mainly because of the fact that they're going to challenge Alabama. They're going to look the part. I think they're going to win some big games, but they're going to do what they do. They're going to lose some games that they shouldn't as well. So I'm going to say lower, but they're always going to be in the mix. They're always going to be forgiven for some losses that they shouldn't be forgiven for. They're not a playoff team, but they make the SEC interesting. That's for sure. So I'm going to say lower.
I'm going to go lower as well. They got Arkansas early in the season. They got Miami early in the season. They also got Ole Miss middle of the season. Did I mention that they play Alabama? Did I mention they also play LSU? I got them lower. All those great recruits, the world's best recruiting class of all time. Guess what? They ain't there yet. So got them lower.
Oh, Shaw getting all fired up.
Uh-oh.
Put your money where your mouth is, bro.
Oh, he talking.
What Big Ten team goes to the Rose Bowl then? So you're arguing that your team's going to the Rose Bowl? How's your team going to the Rose Bowl if they're going to beat Ohio State?
Nebraska going to the Rose Bowl. Nebraska is coming out the West.
Him, what he said. Go away. Go count your quarterback, Shaw. We got a show to host. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The mid-afternoon and early evening will be partly cloudy, a high near 80. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a low near 62. And tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy, a high near 82. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Call It Power Washing. Introducing Call It Power Washing. Old man winter tough on your home? Call It for all your spring cleanup needs.
Got a project to do?
5X480. Dayton B100 V-Belt, one of the many parts Grainger carries. It's also the item that helped Rob carry the day. The job was on hold, deadline fast approaching, but a quick search on Grainger.com and Rob found his part. And with same-day pickup at his local branch, he and his crew got the job done, safely and on time. Get supplies and solutions for every industry with real-time product availability. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, y'all, this is your girl, Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge for a coupon and daily support? Sign up at Metamucil.com today.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Week 1 of the high school football season is officially here. The Alter Knights, the Fairmont Firebirds. Don't miss the Miami Valley's biggest rivalry matchup this Thursday night as Alter takes on Fairmont in our ESPN Dayton High School Football Game of the Week. Tune in or stream the game live this Thursday night at 7 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Week 1 of the high school football season is officially here, and we're going to have, of course, the Alter Knights and the Fairmont Firebirds coming up this Thursday night, 7 o'clock kickoff. Of course, you could listen live at 1410 Wing AM or stream the game live, wingam.com. Again, 518-1410, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. But how about this? Helmet shortages. Helmet shortages across, the country, of course, impacting high school football, including here in the state of Ohio. Luckily, from coaches and programs I've caught up with, that hasn't been an issue here, although they've had enough. But there has been enough of helmet shortages to lead to some programs having to cancel throughout the state of Ohio, including up in Cleveland, Collinwood. Again, maybe not a school that you're very familiar with, but nonetheless, an in-state storyline here with Collinwood having to cancel a week 1 high school football game. According to the article, again, Matt Gould of Cleveland.com, Collinwood will not play its first game of the high school football season Friday because it lacks enough helmets. Head coach Greg Wheeler confirmed Sunday that his team's predicament, which forced the cancellation of the Railroaders' Week 1 trip against Akron North. He says it's not anyone's fault, said Wheeler, who described the helmet shortage as a perfect storm. Wheeler declined to say how many helmets his team needs, but he currently has 20 players. My thing is, that's not a lot for a high school football team. And if you're struggling, you don't have enough helmets for 20 players. Wheeler again declined to say how many helmets his team needs, but he currently has 20 players. The Railroaders are scheduled to play week 2 at Independence, and as of now, that game is on. Wheeler goes on to say that we're hopeful to have the helmets in as soon as possible. I'm hopeful for week 2. I found this interesting. Coaches throughout the area have said this summer that they're worried about whether their teams would have enough helmets because of a nationwide supply shortage. Collinwood's neighboring Cleveland City schools felt the brunt of the shortage. Glenville coach Ted Ginn Sr. Said that he didn't think he would have enough helmets for his team, estimating that the Tarblooders had about half as many as they needed before the start of August practices. So Ted Ginn Sr.'s team did end up getting an influx of helmets at the last minute so that they're in good shape. Nonetheless, Ted Ginn Sr. said that I worry about anyone else who joins the team after his team's August 6th scrimmage at Rocky River, adding that he typically accepts additions once the school year begins. Obviously, with the season and preseason practices starting before the school year kicks off, obviously you get access to quite a few more students and kids once school officially begins. But he's worried about having enough to be able to add to that. They may not be able to. I just found this interesting. I don't know what all goes into, the supply of helmets, like how many, do you throw out per year? Obviously, if they're damaged, you can't play with them. I mean, how many new helmets does each school get per year? Is that a biannual thing? Is that every year you get money for new equipment? Some schools are more fortunate than others. I get that. But I am kind of fascinated by that because there's just things that we don't think of. It's football. They have helmets, they have pads, they have this, they have that. There's, so there's jersey shortages out there. There's a lot of shortages for the equipment needed, like the shoulder pads and some things along those lines. So found that very interesting nonetheless, but obviously something that I do not believe has impacted any teams here locally. Kev Nash back with us here in the studio. Kev, I just shared the story. You're from Cleveland. Are you familiar with Collinwood?
Yes. That's the area I grew up. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yes.
All right. Well, Collinwood had to cancel their week 1 game this Friday night because of a helmet shortage, and that they're hoping to have the helmets back in. They only have 20 players.
Yeah.
Is that common?
Not when I was growing up. When I was growing up, Collinwood was better known as a basketball school and a track and field school, but 20
Like
players.
Kentucky.
But man, 20 players. Wow.
20.
That's sad.
Well, it's sad, but it also caught my attention because they're having a hard time being able to get enough helmets for everyone on the football team, and they only have 20 players. So I was just saying, like, I don't even know. Like, we call games every week, and I go and watch high school football all the time. But the thing is, we just go, we show up, we watch them. They all have helmets, they all have jerseys. We don't really comprehend like where these jerseys and helmets are coming from. I have no idea. Obviously, it's part of budgets and everything along those lines. But how often do you replace these helmets? How often do high school teams update their equipment? You know what I mean? Upgrade their equipment. So I just find this, kind of fascinating. It is cool reading about schools throughout the state that have been donating some helmets to some schools in need. I like reading those stories. I think that's pretty cool because if there's a shortage, you could have the habit of kind of holding on to what's yours in case it impacts you. But I do think that's pretty cool. Ted Ginn Sr.'s team also impacted by it. They just had enough, he said, and that he's worried. What's the team that he Glenville. They just had enough for everybody, but they usually add guys to the team after the school year starts because there's more bodies coming onto campus or whatever and that type of thing. He's worried they don't have enough to be able to add new players to the team.
And Glenville is one of those teams. Obviously, Ted Ginn Jr. went there. Troy Smith went there. Cardell Jones went there. A lot of former Buckeyes went there. It was one of those teams in Northeast Ohio that is like, well, at least when I was growing up, they were sponsored by, a Nike or an Adidas school and everything like that. So I know even locally we have schools that are sponsored by, those big brands and everything like that, but that still doesn't get them everything that they need, and then when we talk about schools that are less funded, then that's where we're talking about where having old equipment and equipment that potentially is malfunctioning or just has run its course and no longer safe to use. Because if you go out there with a helmet that doesn't have any padding or has a crack in it, you might as well not be going out there at all. So yeah, that's very scary, man. It's very unfortunate. And it's a great point that you brought up about other schools donating their previous used equipment to places that need it, because I've always been a proponent of, you and I differ about the shot clock thing in high school basketball. And I've always said, well, it should be, and that's not really the conversation, but I think that the NBA should fund those type of things. I also believe that the NFL should be funding these high schools, or at least lending a helping hand to these high schools, because without these young people playing the sport, you won't have people playing the sport in the future. So I think that would be a great thing for the NFL to do a give back type of situation, because guess where? The NFL has a ton of helmets, a ton of shoulder pads. So like, giving back is a great thing, but the biggest entity out there that could give back is the NFL.
Yeah, interesting stuff there. But luckily, again, I've reached out to coaches in high schools in the area that hasn't been a concern. There's shortages, and that there's some school, concern that if they did have an influx of guys come out for a team, that whether or not they'd have enough or not. But luckily, I haven't heard of anyone having to cancel games because of that here in the Miami Valley. That's for sure.
I want to have another point. It's so crazy because when I was in high school, we had to do all the food drives or the candy drives, the car wash and everything like that to pay for different uniforms. My brother's 6 years older than me. When he was playing sports and everything like that, that wasn't an issue. You just showed up to school. The school had set equipment. You didn't have to do all these type of things. And I know nowadays, even in, suburban schools, they have these fundraisers to help fund the programs and everything like that. So, this is something like, if we want to continue to have high school sports, from baseball to football to track and field to softball and everything like that, these sports need to be funded. And that's why when election time comes up, not talking politics, but like when election time comes,
this guy, folks?
when election time comes up, it's important to actually look at what these levies are doing, because a lot of these do go back into the school system. So if your child is out there playing these sports or are involved in band or anything like that, and you're voting no, well, then you're voting no on your child's opportunity to play these sports or be involved in extracurricular activities.
518-1410, 518-1410. Anyone wants to jump in on that conversation? Adam on Facebook says, great point, Kev. Some, but not all NFL teams help out with with football equipment. You can tell I'm hungry. NFL can do much good by supporting youth in high school football. Look, today, the Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Browns are great. All right? They do a lot for the community. But no, today, a local high school, they had invited to come watch their practice, and they had donated a bunch of helmets to this particular high school. Let me figure, I'm pulling it up because I want to see which team it was that they donated those helmets to. It was James Ford Rhodes High School.
Not familiar.
So they surprised this high school with new football helmets this morning after walkthrough. So I thought that was pretty cool. So there you go. 518-1410. All right. Well, continue talking high school football here. We kick off the 2022 high school football season on 1410 ESPN Radio this Thursday night for, of course, one of the biggest rivalries in the Miami Valley, Fairmont taking on Alter. It's one of those matchups that Keith Byers and I look forward to calling every single season to kick off the WING high school football football game of the week. And that's how we're going to do it again coming up this Thursday night. But a lot of big games, Kev, around the Miami Valley will start in the Greater Catholic League, the GCL, the co-ed. Carroll opening up their week one season at Welcome Stadium, taking on opponents, of course. So that's a big week one matchup for them as they want to get the season off and rolling. Alter Fairmont, that's this Thursday night. Those are the two games out of the GCL co-ed league, of course. Carroll at opponents and then Alter at Fairmont Thursday night. Both games, opponents game at 6 o'clock and then Alter Fairmont 7 o'clock, which you can catch right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Friday night matchups, Kev. They'll have CJ at Eastmore Academy. And then Fenwick at Franklin, Indian Hill at McNichols, and then Baden at Villa Angela St. Joseph. So,
hey,
Cleveland talk here today on the show. The GWalk opens up on Thursday at night as well. We talked about Fairmont and Alter, of course, but Wayne going on to take on the fighting Jackson Carmen, whatever the hell his name is, Jackson Carmen, taking on Fairfield. So there you go.
Almost down to Cincinnati.
Wayne at Fairfield Alumni Stadium, 7 o'clock, the kickoff for that. Alter Fairmont GWalk action Thursday night. I like that. Wayne, I'm excited about Wayne this year. We got a couple Wayne games I'm excited about. Wayne at Fairfield, though, that'll be a good one. Two really good the GWalk has two really big games that night, non-conference, of course. Obviously, Alter Fairmont, big rivalry game there, but Wayne at Fairfield, I mean, that's a big one right off the bat. So
I love when teams go to other cities,
and
I love when the fans travel to the other cities. We take it for granted in professional sports and everything like that because it happens every single week. But the fact that high school kids get to leave school early, get on the bus and travel about an hour down south to take on the team. We don't see that until, the playoffs and everything like that. I love these non-conference matchups early. You can represent for the city that you're from and everything like that.
Yeah. So again, I'm really looking forward to that one. Again, I said we have a couple Wayne games on the schedule for our ESPN Dayton High School football game of the week, which you could check out at wingam.com to get the full broadcast schedule there. But we will have our first Wayne game. Pick Central will be at Wayne in week 3. So that's a big one. Wayne has some big games right off the bat as they look to kick off the 2022 season. That's for sure.
Is that where Will Smith Jr. goes?
Will Smith Jr.?
The former Ohio State defensive end son. Let me double check.
Other Friday night action out of the GWalk, Xenia at Beaver Creek, Centerville at Lakota East. So Centerville hitting the road and challenging. I mean, there's a lot of big. I mean, look, the GWalk always provides some big time games throughout the season, but I love hearing that. Wayne's going to go play at Fairfield. You can talk about Centerville going to Lakota East. So I think it's pretty neat. Some of these big non-conference matchups that we're seeing: Springboro at Lebanon, Butler at Northmont, Miamisburg at West Carrollton. And then the GWalk matchup on Saturday. Not just one of the best teams in the Miami Valley, not just one of the best teams in the G-Walk, but one of the best teams, not just one of the best teams in the state. We're talking about one of the best teams in the country in the Springfield Wildcats. They're getting a lot of national attention too. I think that's pretty dang cool. Springfield at St. Ignatius.
Let's get it on.
Week 1 has some pretty badass matchups. I'm sorry to use a swear word talking high school athletics. This is why I'm not meant for high school coverage. I don't know how to. But come on, there's only
I don't
want to
see you get too excited on a touchdown call on Thursday night. Get the dump button ready.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a few years. I'm on my best behavior. But yes, I mean, I think even there's some school principals out there who are like, yeah, there's a pretty badass matchup. Springfield at St. Ignatius. That's pretty dang cool. Centerville at Lakota East in week 1 action out of the G-Walk. Of course, Wayne at Fairfield, Ultra at Fairmont, our high school football game of the week here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Good stuff there. All right, let's move on down to the Miami Valley League. Xenia at Beaver Creek. We talked about that one. Piqua had a great year last year. Piqua, one of the top teams in the Miami Valley. They look to pick up where they left off last year. One of the many playoff teams, because everyone makes the dang playoff, but they were a legitimate playoff team, in my opinion. I don't like that everyone gets in the playoff, by the way.
No.
I don't like that they expanded that. But Piqua was going to be no matter what. They had one heck of a 2021 campaign. They want to pick up where they left off. They're going to be opening up on the road at Belmont. So a big game right there. Greenville at Eaton, Butler at Northmont, Bellefontaine at Sydney. The Yellow Jackets look to kick off the season with a big win. Fairborn at Tecumseh, Bellbrook at Tippecanoe, Dunbar at Troy. That's an interesting matchup right off the bat. I like that week 1 matchup. Dunbar at Troy, Miamisburg at West Carrollton, Miamisburg, the Vikings. It's my team this year. Jackson McGowan. That's my dude.
Also a team that I root for very heavily.
Who?
Miamisburg. My buddy's son plays for them.
All right. Who's that?
Akio Perry, fullback for the Vikings.
Akio?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to change my name. That's a cool name. Akio Perry. There you go. Stebbins at Aiken again on Saturday night. Saturday afternoon, I should say. 4:30 kickoff right there. DPS, Carroll at Ponitz. We talked about that. Piqua at Belmont. Okay. We talked about that one a little bit ago. Dunbar at Troy. So some of these are repeats from some of the other ones. Of course, a lot of, cross, conference action here. Thurgood Marshall at Independence out of Columbus, and then Western Hills at Meadowdale.
Let's get it on, man. It's just so many games, man. And, the thing that I miss, behind the curtain a little bit on Hot 102.9, we used to be out and about for all the high school games. So we would be hitting you up to see where you were going. You would be hitting us up to see where we're going.
Schedules on the drive. I know
we would bounce around the whole city, man. And some years we would be at multiple games. We would pull up for the quote unquote tailgates at one game and then make it to another game before halftime was over and everything like that, just to kind of like make our rounds through the city, man. It was good times. I need to get back on that.
Look, I'm just jacked. The high school football season's officially here. And by the way, it feels like, remember I looked at the window earlier, like it looks like fall.
Yeah.
It looks like fall. It feels like fall, but most importantly, it's almost fall. All right, folks, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Wireless headphones. That'll be $200.
I'll use my Capital One Quicksilver card.
Now that's a hit. You used the Capital One Quicksilver card, which makes you the hero of every purchase. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere.
I wanted running music, but unlimited 1.5% cash back is pretty heroic.
Good instincts. Every hero needs a theme song. The Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
This should be 8x7.
When it comes to closets, Janina's home organization business runs tip-top tidy.
Is the schedule right? I'm going to need help.
But she needs to reorganize and find a new assistant.
I know, it's your last week, but can you make sure the Hanson pantry's wrapped?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/
According to the article, again, Matt Gould on Cleveland.com, Collinwood will not play its first
30. Backpack.
Now's the time to get a great deal on Kubota construction equipment.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith. And
at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Or online at lanceroofing.com.
With Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Talked about injuries at the college level and how that's impacted the upcoming matchup between Ohio State and Notre Dame. Not so much the negative side for Ohio State, although they did lose Pryor, which is an unfortunate loss. I mean, look, Ohio State has depth at pretty much every position, at least on the offensive side of the ball. O-line, a little sketch, of course, but nonetheless, skill position players, Ohio State, very, very deep, of course, but a lot of top wide receivers for Notre Dame out there, very thin at wide receiver. Talking about injuries a lot in college. As we were talking about earlier in the show, I just don't recall a time where we have talked about this many significant injuries to significant weapons in college football. And not saying it's never happened. Look, we're fans of a team that was a part of probably the greatest storyline ever in the history of college athletics, where a third string quarterback comes in the inaugural year of the college football playoff leads the team to a national championship. So like, it's not like injuries don't happen. They just don't happen as often to the legitimate star players, or at least the name brand players, if you will. But over the weekend, in preseason week 1 for the NFL, there's always the debate of, do you play your starters in the week, or do you play your starters in the preseason? Do you not? I've talked about the Rams, Sean McVay, everyone kind of goes as he goes. He doesn't play his starters in the preseason. His team wins the Super Bowl. Do I think there's a correlation there? No, I do not. The Kansas City Chiefs, when it comes to Andy Reid, he plays their starters all the time. In fact, Patrick Mahomes played an entire first quarter in his very first preseason game of the year. And guess what? They were a Bengals kicker away from getting back to their third straight Super Bowl. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just a coach's preference. But what people like to do is when a player does go down and get hurt, well, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Was it worth it? Was it worth it? Preparing for the upcoming season? I mean, it's football. Zach Wilson goes down. He was one of the Jets are one of those teams that everyone tries to will them into being a contender, right? And then they let everybody down. They're trying to talk Zach Wilson into being this, Pro Bowl franchise quarterback for the Jets. And I know that's what Jets fans really, really want. But, they're going to have to wait a little bit. They thought it was a season-ending injury, obviously not as severe as they thought. But breaking news a little bit ago, Zach Wilson's arthroscopic knee surgery was deemed a success. There were no surprises from the original diagnosis. They won't put him on the field until he's 100%, but good news for the Jets. No timetable is when he could be back. It could be months. But by that point, if he is who you say he is, you don't lose a quarterback like that and then expect to be in playoff contention when it's all said and done. But then Joe Flacco's been turning some heads, I guess. That's a comment I never thought I'd be making, not even back when he was with the Ravens. And at one point was the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. I'll never forget that day. But overall, Kev, again, Zach Wilson goes down. And again, it just starts bringing up all the arguments, counter arguments of should you play your starters or not. Look, that's going to happen. That could have happened at camp. It could have happened at practice. It could have happened him getting out of the shower. It could have happened anytime. Bottom line is I don't think it's as big a deal as people are making it out. It's unfortunate, because I actually want to see what the kid looks like too. Right. I want to see. I'm always excited for the year 2 guys in the league. Who's going to be that Joe Burrow? Some said it could have been Zach Wilson. Some, as far as the second-year quarterback who just all of a sudden everything comes easy at a certain point. Well, walking is not going to be easy for him until he heals up. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, but you're right. Like, this could have happened at practice. And that's all really preseason games are, or practices that people get charged to go watch. So if it would have had happened at practice, would it mean anything less? No, he hurt. That's the only thing that matters is he's hurt and he's out. And he's a young quarterback trying to develop, is in his second year. They got weapons around him. They stocked up on the defense. Everybody raved about their draft from Jermaine Johnson to Sauce Gardner to obviously Garrett Wilson. Like, people love their draft. So people are anxious to see him on the field with all these new toys and new weapons and everything like that. And now that's delayed him getting on the field and obviously going to delay his further development. And you bring up good old Flacco, who's sticking around the NFL, keep getting them checks, Joe. But I wanted to see if they were going to go to the quarterback that beat the Bengals last season. What was his name? I can't even remember his name. Mike White, because he was also Mike White was the mayor of Cleveland when I was growing up. But yes, Mike White
too, by the way.
I know you did, hanging up on your bedroom wall.
Like Baker Mayfield out there beating up on them Bengals.
But it's kind of surprising to me that they're going to Joe Flacco. I would have rather went to Mike White.
I think that shows you right there that they want to win. And the veteran quarterback gives them their best chance of winning, considering the circumstances. They spent a lot of money. They got some big pieces in the draft. They had a very good draft.
They killed it in the
2
draft.
years. They've done real well in the draft. So I think that the Jets right now, I think that they knew, look, even the Bengals who caught, White coming in as the starter, they had no time to prepare for him. I think that's why he was able to. I mean, look, that's not true. The Bengals played like absolute dog blank that day. And they got torched by him, but he got figured out as the weeks went
right
on. Not saying that guy's not in there somewhere, but I mean, the coaches know what they have. And obviously Flacco's coming in. And I think that with all the money they've spent and with knowing that they have all these weapons around, That's what stings too. It's another year wasted in a rookie contract. That's why I'm always so adamant about trying to strike while the iron's hot. Take advantage of your rookie quarterback's deal. So with the Steelers, I'm like, what are you waiting for when it comes to Pickett? Figure out if he's the guy or not. You have 4 years with him to figure out if you can go spend stupid money on guys that you normally wouldn't have enough for while he's in his rookie contract deal. Wasting a whole year doesn't make sense to me. So the Jets are experiencing that now, and they're like, well, we can't waste this year. We got to roll with Joe Flacco over the other quarterbacks. I don't mind it.
Listen to some of these names that the Jets have. This is kind of like a who's who of like college guys that we're familiar with. Breece Hall, the running back out of Iowa State. Elijah Moore, Ole Miss wide receiver. Garrett Wilson, obviously, Buckeye receiver. Then you go to the defensive side of the ball, right? He talked about, C.J. Mosley, former Alabama linebacker. Sauce from the Bearcats. LaMarcus Joyner, Florida State safety. I mean, Jermaine Johnson, Florida State defensive end. So they got a lot of guys that we recognize. They drafted our guy, Jeremy Rucker from Ohio State, got him playing backup tight end next to Uzama, used to be with the Bengals. So, they got guys that we've heard of and guys that we know on that team. They even tried to bolster up that offensive line. Unfortunately, the guy that they drafted first overall last time they were high in the draft is out again with another knee injury and everything like that. And now their young quarterback is going to be out for the foreseeable future.
Last thing on the way out here of this hour, I should say, I wanted to touch on this storyline. How about Tiger Woods making headlines again? Tiger Woods is set to meet with a group of players at the BMW Championship to rally and support the PGA Tour against their rival, Live. And I guess Tiger's making some headlines because I guess he was spotted landing him and Ricky Fowler, another professional American golfer, of course, according to this NBC Philadelphia tweet that came out about 9 minutes ago. Tiger Woods is shown heavily limping coming off this plane. Go home. I know the PGA paid you to gather these guys to be a cheerleader for him, but go home. Look, I get it. Man, Tiger Woods, what a leader. And he turned down $700-800 million. You know who could turn down $700-800 million? Billionaires. That too. Okay, billionaire. I find it very rich of a billionaire to tell all these other golfers to take less money. I get a kick out of that. I do find it very weird. In my conspiracy theory world, the PGA is taking care of Tiger Woods financially to basically be their spokesperson, to go out there and take care of them and to kind of fight the good fight. Again, hey, tell all the other golfers, hey, let's stick together. Tiger, would you have talked to me any other time? No, you're Tiger Woods. You're too good to talk to the rest of us. You're way up here. Now all of a sudden you want to talk to us? Why? Because PGA, in my opinion, I have no inside information on this. It's just, to me, I find it very odd that he is this passionate about defending the PGA, Kev. I do. I do find it strange. I think they're taking care of him behind the scenes, saying, hey, will you be a microphone for us? And maybe these guys will, they'll listen to you. Again, conspiracy theorist, myself on this, I think PGA is taking care of him behind the scenes to do this. I find this very, very odd.
It wouldn't surprise me if it came out if that's true. But everything about Tiger Woods is old school. Like from the way he learned how to golf, from everything he said prior to the Live tournament. And once the Live tournament actually blew up and started getting guys and everything like that, he's been consistent with his views about it and everything like that. So he wants it to remain the same. And I mean, we got to also remember, man, Tiger Woods ain't that young Tiger Woods anymore that was, fist pumping and everything like that and taking the game by storm. It's funny, older you get, the older you get. If you dig my drift, it's my way and it's the way it used to be, or the highway. So he's turned into an old man.
And that's fine. And the people that are like trying to bring up the moral side to this, just so you know, Tiger Woods is not, you're acting like you're siding with Tiger Woods on this because of the moral high ground on this. There is no moral high ground for Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is only saying he's the get off my lawn guy. He's not over there talking about all the moral implications of this. He's just talking about, well, I don't like when they play music when I golf.
See, that's the old man.
I don't like them playing only, less amount of holes than everybody. He don't like the change of the sport. That's all. That's why I'm like, it would be one thing if he was coming out and he had just had this moral stance on this. He doesn't have that. So that's why I'm like, this is just a get off my lawn type thing. Get off my screen, get off my Twitter. I don't care. I don't, unless Tiger Woods is out there playing, I don't care. I don't want to hear Tiger Woods' name. Billionaire telling other guys to take less money. Get out of here with that. We'll be right back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Need a U.S. passport? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Visit one of our convenient auto title locations in Huber Heights, Clayton, downtown, Moraine, and Centerville. Make us your